From being in the community, from being involved in this project for years, what has it taught you about people?
Being in this community in particular that was so zero tolerant, and I was too, like I believed in zero tolerance, even when I had my kids. I mean, I didn't necessarily understand what it meant. And people say to me, well, how could no one have known, what was going on there? People, even in the community say it, or around the country, they say, how could people not know that this is all going on? Half the time there wasn't lawyers in the courtroom. And I always say, well, there was always a lawyer in the courtroom, a prosecutor was there. There were all sorts of people in the courtroom. The reason no one knew what was going on, we were all complacent and complicit because we all believed in zero tolerance. We all thought, be tough on kids. We were all fine with it until we found out there was millions of dollars involved, and all of a sudden we weren't fine with the way the kids were being treated anymore. To me, that's hypocrisy. I get to say it about my own community because I lived in the community. And I think that the community has to catch up to that. Because when they blame a single person for all that happened, they don't realize necessarily how unrealistic that really is. It takes a village to raise a child, it takes a village to destroy a child as well. And I think that's a realization that my community is coming to grips with now. And I think that more communities around the country, as they see the film, will come to grips with as well.
And do you hope that others will become more empathetic? I think you mentioned that, you would see a kid maybe and think, well, that's a bad, quote, bad kid. And as any parent would, they would want, quote, a bad kid to stay away from their kids. But I think you said that it made you soften a little bit and open your eyes to people's situations a little more.
It did, and I think I've always had some empathy, but I used to judge people much more harshly, adults and kids, before this project. I just did. I'd see somebody and I'd start to make a judgment. Man, I tell you, my whole automatic filters have changed completely because of the project. I literally no longer look at people that way. And the thing about zero tolerance is that it's black and white. And in this world, there is no such thing as zero tolerance as far as mechanical things. There's tolerance within a certain level of tolerance. And zero tolerance means it doesn't, like, why are we doing it to kids or people? And I think that the zero tolerance idea is, I want zero tolerance for your kid, not mine. Because if my kid does something wrong, see, I know my kid, I know its intentions, but it's your kid that I worry about. And when a kid is labeled a juvenile delinquent, no other parent wants that kid to hang out with their kid because they're a bad kid. We've had people that have seen the film in pre-release that have contacted us one way or the other and said they'll never look at a kid the same way again, which I think is great. And the fact that they'll be less suspicious now because we've created this suspicion about, oh, kids are evil and they're going to do bad things. And I think that's going to change. I really do. I believe it's going to change if enough people see the film.
What's your take on this new label of affluenza making a child behave a certain way versus how the court system seemed to view some of these families with their own bias, thinking that, oh, well, maybe he came from a, quote, troubled home?
I think we all come from troubled homes in a way. I mean, show me a family that doesn't have some level of dysfunction. That's the problem. We label kids at risk. I think all kids are at risk. And I think that schools who contribute more kids into the juvenile system since Columbine than any other time ever. Pennsylvania alone had a 300% increase in placing kids into the system since Columbine. 300%. Yet juvenile crime's been coming down way before Columbine continues to come down. I think that we have sort of lost our way in the way that we look at kids, and I think we need to kind of pull ourselves back and realize that kids are kids and let kids live their lives and learn from the mistakes they make, just like we did when we were growing up.